There's a meeting where, for once, there is a meeting where I am not the person in charge. This is your evening, and I look forward to hearing the State of the Town address. With no introduction needed, John Lustician, Town Manager.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, and members of council and members of the community. This evening, we've put together a PowerPoint presentation. I believe Ryan's going to be controlling the slides. We have two members of my team who were unable to be here tonight, Chief Gwixens and Director Lewis. So Deputy Chief of Police Rob Turner will be filling in for Chief Gwixens, and I will be filling in for Director Lewis when we get to the part of the presentation for her department. So I wanted to start with a special thanks to Chris Ortiz, who is on staff in our administrative services office. Chris put together the PowerPoint presentation for this evening, and I think once you see this, and I think you'll agree he did a wonderful job in putting this together to communicate to the town where we are, things we've accomplished, and things that we'll be challenged by, as well as our goals that lie ahead. And so with that, I'm pleased to present the State of the Town 2023. And this is about writing the TRP story. And there's lots of co-authors, right? Last year, when I began the report, I said in part that things are very different this year, and that would be reflected in this evening's report. This year, I begin by saying that the impact of things being different in the past several years will be felt for the next 5 or more years, and that we need to position the town for sustainability with programs, services, and investments to meet or exceed the residents' expectations while continuing to be fiscally responsible, fiscally conservative, and transparent. As we move forward, each of us plays an important role in writing the TRP story. Now, we have lots of contributors or co-authors, and what you will see on this slide and the next are some of those. And we'll start with the elected leadership, to whom I am accountable and required by the town's charter to present an annual report on the state of the town. Throughout this last year, the mayor and council have continued their outward focus to ensure the delivery of quality services and to support town residents, businesses, visitors, and employees. We have the town residents and their assistance and collaboration, their care and concern for each other continue to make TRP an incredible place. We have CCAR, our community development organization that continues to work to feed and support our residents and businesses. They plant trees, they plant hope. And soon they will be opening the Sarvis Cafe to further our workforce development goals. We have the Riverdale Park Farmers Market, a constant source of nutritious food offerings, but also a place for social gathering, for the much needed connection among members of our community and visitors. Riversdale House Museum. We want to give a sincere thank you to them for their continued partnership in the Summer Jazz Series. And as Director Barnes will likely talk about this evening, some other possible partnerships with the museum. Riverdale Park Arts, this rebranded arts organization, continues to evolve and to expand. We added last year the train stop tunes, and we're working with that organization to further expand, bringing arts to our residents. The county is an important player as well, whether that's for grants or for permits. And so there's some challenges there, and it's okay to recognize that we don't always agree, but we do need them, and we need them to help with stormwater management, to better maintain their infrastructure. And I think the town has done its part to encourage the county to do just that. We also want to recognize and thank new council member Eric Olson and his staff, who have hit the ground running to assist us in becoming a better and stronger community. The Riverdale Volunteer Fire Department, who since 1923 has provided emergency services to town residents. The state of Maryland, another important partner, not just for the opportunity for grants, but the opportunity for them to make improvements to their infrastructure. We're hoping to have an update in the near future on the Riverdale Road Bridge project. So we've reached out to the state, and we're looking forward to getting an update on their project for replacement of that bridge. Our faith community partners, they continue to feed our residents, distribute food, coordinate health screenings and other important efforts to improve the quality of lives among the primarily low to mod income population in our town. And we'll talk a little bit about who we are in terms of the updated census information shortly. And a special thank you as well to other co-authors of our future, and that's District 22 delegation. The actions that they take in the State House affect us on our roadways and in our town hall and throughout our community. So we also have some boards and commissions that it's important to pause and recognize that they too are co-authors in the TRP story. So new this year, we have the redistricting committee, the town seal committee, and the board of elections. Now, we have returning our other boards and commissions and the good work that they continue to do. The Board of Code Appeals, the Chiefs Community Advisory Council, the Ethics Commission, and just as an aside, it is Ethics Awareness Month. The Sustainability Committee, the Green Team. Now I want to pause here for a minute because all these groups have done incredible work in the past year. They really have. But I want to point out and highlight the Tree Summit. I think the Tree Summit, a grassroots organization, and I guess that's a pun there, but a grassroots organization that put together a community-wide interactive Saturday morning event to bring people together to talk about the future of the town. And a large part of that future is the health of our tree canopy. And their efforts, I think, speak for themselves. But I think it's important to highlight the good work that they have done and that they continue to do. Next slide, Ryan. So then we turn and we look inward, and we have the staff team. And I thought about what to say this year about the staff team. And then I thought back on what I've heard from others. How often I hear from members of the council or the mayor or our residents saying, I just want to take a moment to tell you. I think Councilmember Foe has told quite a few stories, as has Councilmember Lingua, as has the mayor, as has our residents, about the extra step that the staff team takes, that extra dedication, how quickly they respond. Sometimes they respond before we get the calls. And people say, oh, I was thinking about calling in, and then I looked out and the problem was resolved. That's who we are as a very small staff team. And I say very small because in 2016, we had authorized staff of 46 positions. In our current year, we have an authorized staff of 52.75. So the town has grown, not just in population, because we've had a minor growth in population, but in expectations. I've been told by some on this call that we hit above our weight, that we punch above our weight, that we perform more impactfully than one may at first glance predict. And I believe that's true. I also believe that the staff in some ways is tired. The last 3 years have been hard. It's been hard on all of us, and we'll talk more about that later on in the presentation. It's been hard on our businesses. It's been hard on our residents, but it has been hard on the staff team. And I think it's important to acknowledge that fact. So when we look at the staff leadership team, we've added a member, and so we welcome Rob Turner as Deputy Chief of Police to the staff leadership team. And one thing I wanted to point out about the leadership team, for those who may not be as familiar with our organization as others, when someone hears the term, the staff leadership team, and they look at titles and they think, oh, so-and-so's a director, they must tell people what to do. Or so-and-so's a manager or a deputy director or a chief. Now that's a part of what that level of a position requires. But in this small of an organization, our leadership team are also doers. We have no administrative staff. Across the organization, there is no one who's an administrative staff for anyone else. We have program staff, but we all do our own work. And I think that's important to recognize that in a small organization, the leaders are doers. And I think it's in doing that we lead. And that helps with our culture. And I really believe that helps in projecting the image that we have as a quality town with quality services. So we have some challenges and some concerns. So before I get into this list, I thought I'd bring up one that just occurred. And I had a conversation a short time ago with Michelle Brandenburg with PNC. Because some of our challenges and concerns, most of them are external, some are internal. But an external that ties to the economy, and I just want to touch on, is the banking sector. So there was the failure of SVB and Signature Bank. And you think, well, in little old Riverdale Park, how might we be impacted? Are we even connected? The answer is that we are indirectly connected, and indirectly we have some exposure through investments in the S&P. The good news is the exposure of those bank collapse is very small. And this is all as it relates to our defined benefit plan. But we do have exposure of about $13,000. And I highlight this first because it talks about or highlights the interconnectivity of many of these other things. And so let's take a look at this list. Stormwater management. I believe it was in my first state of the town. I had stormwater management as my top item, and I said, we have to pay attention to this. This is this is by far one of our greatest challenges. It remains by far one of our greatest challenges. Something that we don't have direct control over the infrastructure. Something that to create new infrastructure will take partnerships with the state and the county, funded perhaps by the federal government. And so we're limited in what it is that we can do. We can create projects and recommendations, and we can carry out some projects and have greater participation in the county's municipal participation program. So there are things that we can do, but a large part of it is relying on others to share the sense of urgency that the town has clearly communicated to those who are in a better position to act on their own infrastructure. Affordable housing. This has been, I think, a concern and challenge that we've talked about several times before. And while the purple line, and we'll talk about the purple line here in a little bit, but while the purple line's delayed, and that's creating a delay in investment east of the river near the Purple Line station at Kenilworth and 410. The affordability generally across the town is becoming a concern. When you look at the value or the sales price, the sales price of homes, it continues to rise. And there's very little housing inventory for sale. There's actually a home for sale. I'm not marketing it, so I won't give the address, but there's a duplex for sale in town for over $1 million. Single family infill homes have been selling north of 700,000 or 800,000. Townhomes, the newer townhomes in the mid 500s plus. Some of the older townhomes now in the mid to upper 400s. Affordability of residing in Riverdale Park will continue to be a concern. And again, we're limited in what we can do there and to affect that. But as we see more development in Prince George's County, without, I would call, without a comprehensive approach to affordable housing, without inclusionary zoning, for example, the problem will manifest itself, and the town very well in 5 to 10 years look very different than it does today. Staffing and the size of the organization. So I had set about 6 years ago, projecting out where we would be. Then this thing called COVID happened. Councilmember Foe mentioned before the start of this presentation that it's been 3 years. And it's been 3 long years. The impact on development is significant. And some may be saying, why is he talking about development and staffing and size of the organization? And I would say because they go hand in hand. So development has slowed. And I am very glad that we have not made significant structural changes to our organization. We have not increased staff by more than a few positions in anticipation of further development. Because development means increase in population, which means increase in service delivery. We have had a change in expectations. And I believe that the town has risen to that occasion and that we're providing quality service to meet or exceed the expectations of our residents. Sometimes we fall short. When that happens, we learn from it, we regroup, and we figure out how to do things better. We are going to have to grow the organization in some key areas in the months and years ahead. We expanded the property maintenance code applicability. We've kept the same level of staff. We need to expand our events, and we have the same staff. When we simply look at how finances are kept and monitored and the systems and processes that go into that, and we've kept basically the same level of staff, because those few positions that we've added between 2016 and now, 3 of them were much needed police officers. And so I don't want to dwell on this too much tonight, but I do want to make clear that we haven't changed the staffing levels much in 6 years. And it's something that in the years ahead, we're seriously going to have to take a look at in terms of how we fund, how we organize, and what we are able to deliver for our residents. So the next 3 on this list, supply chain, inflation, COVID-19, they could all be under the 4th bullet there, stressors on residents, businesses, and staff. Supply chain. Everyone has experienced the impacts of supply chain. And right now, things have gotten better, but tenuously so. Inflation, depending on who you follow, inflation is decreasing. There's still some projections that will be closer to the goal of about 2%, sometime either at the end of the year or early next year. That's the hope. In my conversation with PNC this evening, they're predicting still a mild recession yet in 2023. And that's consistent with the SAGE policy group that Mr. Jones and Mr. Smith follow to help them with their projections on our revenues and expenditures. So the economy generally, and I've mentioned this, and that's the slowdown in development. So when we look at Riverdale Park Station or the lofts that has been talked about to be in town center, or the project on the Chambers property that's been talked about, our best projection conservatively is that we're looking at fiscal 28 before these projects will necessarily be on our tax rolls. And that's different than what we had projected to see 3+ years ago. And that's something too that we need to recognize as a concern and a challenge. Mr. Chelton. So how we react to these challenges and that will say a lot about who we are. And every year I include some information about living our values. And in years past, I would just read some of these vision or some of these statements, policy statements, or vision and commitment statements. But I want to highlight this evening that these are the benchmarks, if you will, how we measure our decisions. We look and say, is this going to embrace our diversity and be more inclusive? Are we being true to our vision and commitment statements? How do we achieve excellence in service? That's our E to the 5th campaign that we launched, I believe, 5 years ago. And we still use that as a staff a staff tool to frame our discussions. Our resident engagement, that's a top value. Mayor and council's leadership, how they're directing the town, and the town employees' contributions. So we have these various vision and commitment statements. And I'm not going to read the statements for the mayor and council and the community tonight, but I will say they are found on our website. And beginning in 2017 is when the town began to state with clarity its vision and commitment in these core elements of who we are. And these statements provide clear aspirational visions as well as direction to the staff team. And it is that direction when we come up with new programs or proposals, we come up with these ideas, we say, where does this fit in the town's vision and commitment statements? Mr. Shelton. And as we look through all of these, we are now 5+ years out from the most dated statement. And staff propose that beginning this summer, that these statements be reviewed, potential amendments be made, and that mayor and council consider affirming the current statements or adopting new statements as amended. And this will assist in providing clarity, updated clarity, and in establishing these aspirational visions against which decisions will be measured. So turning back to diversity and inclusion, TRP is strong because of it. And this year, we have the benefit of new census information and internal reporting of the diversity of our staff team. So in the next slide, you'll see that we have this puzzle. I've never been very good at puzzles. I can typically get the border pieces. But this puzzle illustrates, I think, and illustrates well, that together we are complete. And if there's a piece missing after you get the border pieces, it also helps define where you need to have more outreach and whether or not we are living up to our value of being inclusive. So there's an excerpt from our diversity and inclusion statement that says, even when people appear the same on the outside, they are different. And I think that's very true. And at this time of considerable division in our country, I want to highlight that transgendered people of color have become a most favored target of ridicule and some hate-filled legislation, some hate-filled messaging. And I believe those things are at odds with TRP's message of inherent worth and dignity of every person of our community. And I am proud of our town. I am proud of the values that the mayor and council have set forth to direct the actions of the staff, to embrace diversity, to celebrate inclusion. So what do we look like as a staff team? And I'm sorry, I have to move you all out of the way so I could see the slide. My apologies on that. So in terms of our gender makeup, currently we're split about 3/4 male, a quarter female. We have no one reporting as other currently. These categories are straight from our Bamboo HR system. And as people report on self-identifying, then other classifications would be included. On ethnicity, the staff team is 40% white, 34% Black or African American, 24% Hispanic or Latino, 2% Native Hawaiian or other specific Pacific Islander. The breakdown by age, we're kind of diverse there too. We have some very young staff, and we have some staff with more experience. I'll say it that way. One thing I wanted to add on that slide was that we have 16 staff members that are bilingual English and Spanish. That's 32% of our staff team. And I want to highlight that this is very different than what we were 6 years ago. The staff team continues to in our recruitment efforts. I want to applaud Director Smith's efforts to ensure that we are recruiting from a wide range of potential applicants, that we are advertising in such ways that we can get a very diverse applicant base. And that's important. And our stats show that. And our results show that as well. Now, when we look at the leadership team, our leadership team, the gender breakdown, 60-40 basically. And ethnicity, we are 37% Black or African American, 13% Hispanic or Latino, and 50% white. And so we're getting there, and we are looking more and more as a reflection of our community. So the census data, the updated census data. If we look in the lower left, so this is a population over 25. We have, and I may actually ask Ryan to help me out if I get any of this wrong, but I'll start in the upper right quadrant. We have 24% less than a 9th grade education. 11% 9th to 12th, but with no diploma. And then 19% high school graduate, and that includes those with a GED. 12% with some college, but no degree. 6% with an associate's, 15% with a bachelor's, and 13% with an advanced degree. And it really tells the story of a very diverse town, from blue collar to professional. And you're pretty much 50-50, 55-45, probably the numbers would pan out closer to those with some college and those with none. And when we look to the other demographics, and if we look at ethnicity, we're 16% white and 59% Hispanic or Latino. 20% Black or African American, 1% another race, 0% Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, and 4% Native American or Alaskan Native. When we look at the language, Spanish speaking, 43% of our population speaks Spanish only. 57% speak other than English, the majority of which I believe are Hispanic speaking. Our income, the mean income per household is 111,000, and our median income just under 88,000. And our housing primarily is occupied. There's only 4% of vacant units at any given time. It's primarily going to be in the multifamily through natural turnover. But we're currently reporting 2,215 households. Mr. Shelton. So there's been a lot of talk and a lot of work that has gone into redistricting. And this is shared for just two reasons. One, to acknowledge all the hard work that the redistricting committee and the council put in to this effort, but to also serve as an opportunity for those watching this to remind them that there has been a redistricting, and that this is the new ward map as approved by the council. And if it's not up on the website already, staff will make sure that it is, so individuals know where their ward boundaries are. So we talk about excellence in service. And the E to the fifth, I mentioned this is a endeavor that the staff leadership team created a number of years ago. And we talk about ethics. And we discuss our expectations, not only of staff, but staff's expectations of us. I will ask staff in all staff meetings and other opportunities, what are your expectations of the town as an employer? What are your expectations of me? And it's good to have those conversations. And that helps further define who we are as a culture. We then look at efficiencies. Are we doing things in the most efficient manner? Are we doing things in the most effective manner? And are we actually executing and getting things done? Now, in years past, again, I too would kind of read what these things meant, but this year we're going to do it a little bit different. And we have some quotes. Mr. Shelton. So this is what the staff team is saying about what excellence in service means. Jose shared, excellence in service is doing the good work with love. What a quote. Jermaine Dixon in our neighborhood services says, excellence in service is promptly responding to residents. Chris Ortiz, excellence in service is being transparent with the TRP community. One moment, folks. Sorry, I hit the wrong button and my screen went blank for a minute. My apologies. Officer Martinez shared that excellence in service is helping to keep TRP residents safe. And Tracy Parent shared that excellence in service is providing a safe environment for ideas and questions. Director Lewis shared, excellence in service is doing the right job right. I can't add anything to these quotes. I think what the staff team is sharing here is on point and are on target and cannot be improved with anything that I can offer. Mr. Shelton. So what have we been doing? A lot. There's a lot going on, and we've learned how to do things differently as a result of the pandemic. So our community or our social media platforms have expanded, and wait till you see the goals for our social media platforms. The town crier a long-term goal achieved, English and Spanish, getting back to who we are. The Festival of Lights as a virtual event, 3 years in a row. The Children's Holiday Party, a virtual event. The food distributions, the community cleanups, just the status and information reports. A lot of information goes into those to keep our residents up to speed on what's going on in their town. The community conversations. The walk and talks. I like this rebranding. It's worked. It really has. The participation in these Saturday morning walks, it's worked. The coffee with a cop, the train stop tunes, jazz on a lawn, or the patio series. The walk, bike, drive safety initiative, we should add like 2.0 with the addition of a community safety program manager and then National Night Out. So we have been reaching out to the community, and we're looking to do even more in the next year. So a lot to take in this new logo. So a number of years ago, the staff team created the We Heart, or We Love Town Life. And I believe it was Chris who put this together. And this is like the We Love Town Life 3.0 logo. And so it's a Wordle, and it's meant to capture who we are. So when you look through here, I won't read all the words off, but it's about neighborhood improvement and ethics and grants and elections and stormwater and safety and Adam and Emily Plummer. It's about our Walk, Bike, Drive Safety Initiative and the Town Seal and the American Rescue Plan Act. And it's about Come Grow With Us still. It's all these things. These things really are the heartbeat of the town. It's a reflection of our community. So in the last year-ish, we've continued to invest in the community through our grant programs. Manifest Bread recently received a $5,000 grant, as did the Hot Yoga Riverdale. They're supposed to upgrade their HVAC system, as well as under the newly renamed commercial, I forget the name now, Mr. Shelton.
Appearance program.
Commercial appearance program. Thank you. So much for this video being flawless. The commercial appearance program, we managed to award a grant over to 250 Barbecue as well. But I think it demonstrates the town's commitment to small business. And that's vitally important. And then we look at the other grant programs. And so we have the emergency repair grant program. So 5 residents were awarded up to $5,000 for their emergency repairs. 20 residents received $1,000 for their accessory grant program. And that's really significant that Riverdale Park, a small town who a number of years ago didn't have formalized programs, has these formalized programs. that are benefiting our residents, that are benefiting our visitors, and by extent, or our businesses, and by extension, visitors to our community. And that is an accomplishment that the whole town should be proud of. So we're going to shift because I've been talking for a while, and I've asked the department heads to take a few minutes to share with the mayor and council and the community about their accomplishments in the last 12 to 14 months, as well as their goals for the year ahead. And again, I will be covering the Department of Public Works. So with that, I turn this over to Director Barnes, who will lead us through the Office of Administrative Services. Jessica?
Good evening, Mayor Thompson, members of the council and the community. My name is Jessica Barnes. I'm the Director of Administrative Services, and I am pleased to present all that we have accomplished as a team this year. This is some of our accomplishments over the last 12 to 14 months, as Town Manager Listician indicated. The first on our list certainly was the translation of the town crier into Spanish. We are incredibly proud of the Spanish version of the town crier, and we are pleased to meet the needs of our residents by providing this in Spanish. Probably as important this year for us, we've improved network security through cybersecurity training for all of our staff, for ongoing phishing training and testing. So this is a year-long process where we will continuously test our staff team and learn from those things. The biggest risk we have is, of course, the human risk and clicking on the wrong link. So we are working on that and continuously testing and training our staff. We're very proud of our reimagined community walks. The walk and talks are well attended and they're focused on areas of town and specific topics and projects. We also implemented the community conversation series. We have one coming up on Saturday morning to talk about our Walk, Bike, Drive safety initiative. These are small virtual events that give us the opportunity to hear from our residents about what's happening in their neighborhoods. We managed the community outreach for permit parking this year. We managed the discussions and drafted the framework for the new permit parking program, and we work very closely with our team in the police department. We've coordinated public meetings and public outreach for the redistricting committee, the town seal design committee, the Board of Elections, and the Ethics Commission. We've supported the Ethics Commission, Redistricting Committee, Town Seal Committee, Board of Elections, implemented changes from the State Ethics Commission, all to ensure compliance with the Open Meetings Act. We've coordinated the town's responses to Maryland Public Information Act requests. And probably one of the most important things that we do is share public information with our residents and those who are interested in what we're doing. We held virtual community events like the Children's Holiday Party, the Virtual Festival of Lights, and we've conducted all sorts of outreach activities that we've already talked about earlier today. In the coming year, we'd like to grow our social media reach to over 4,000. We've been doing a great job with social media. It's been very effective. Again, we provide everything in English and in Spanish, and if you'll notice, we respond to folks in the language that they have commented. So if they comment in Spanish, we reply back in Spanish, and we're really proud of that. We will be re-engaging residents through COVID-safe programming and events, so we still have to consider COVID-19. We're very excited to announce our spring egg hunt is coming back. We're partnering with Riversdale House Museum on April the 1st. I'm really hoping to see Levon there, Councilman Fell. But we are very excited to bring back some of our beloved events. We'll also be working with our neighbors on Trolley Trail Day this summer. There's a lot of exciting things in store. We'll continue to assist the newly established boards, commissions, and committees. Of course, we have a town election on May the 1st, and the Board of Elections is doing a phenomenal job as a brand new entity putting on their very first election. So kudos to that group specifically. We're very excited about the town seal redesign. That'll be starting very soon. Within the next month, there will be outreach and activities, and we're very eager to hear from our residents. We'll also implement new and improved communication tools to specifically reach our Spanish-speaking residents. That's been a focus over the last, as long as I've been with the town. But we are going to continue to refine and focus on new tools and improve communication with our Spanish-speaking residents. I'd like to hand off the virtual mic to my colleague, Paul Smith, Director of Finance and Employee Services.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and residents of the great town of Riverdale Park. I will be covering the Office of Employee Services, and Deputy Director Jones will cover the Finance Services. But this year, we're proud to announce that we launched the TRP University, which is our virtual training program, which so far by the end of the year, we would have had 7 training programs, which include ethics, diversity, inclusion, as well as other classes. We've implemented the Employee Assistance Program, which is a 24-hour program where people could speak to counselors if they feel overwhelmed or if they just want to talk. We've established a formal wellness program with Cigna that will roll out next month or before the end of the year. We enhanced employee engagements through the Tuesday huddles, employee huddles, as well as other meetings with staff. We finalized and updated all position descriptions. We've completed the base pay competitive market review, and we've implemented a new safety program. As our goals for 2024 is to automate the performance review system, to update the town's personnel manual, to boost employee engagement and job satisfaction, and complete the total benefit and compensation study, and also to increase safety programs and decrease workplace accidents. At this time, I'll hand the virtual mic over to the Deputy Director Gentry Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Good evening, Mayor and Council, members of the public. Office of Finance Service had a number of accomplishments, beginning with Phase 3 payroll automation. This included electronic timesheets, allowing sick, vacation, and comp time to be approved, as well as a department head approval. Paper process in Phase 3, we were able to incorporate even more, going paperless. Another accomplishment is the automated payments being expanded. So this includes both accounts payable processes that has been automated and been using a voucher approval process, which we have expanded. The third accomplishment that we have listed here is the Distinguished Budget Award. So it's been 4 consecutive years now of receiving the Distinguished Budget Award. As we put together the budget and through the budget process, we continue to adhere to the rules and standards of the GFOA. And that falls in line with our next accomplishment, which is enhanced transparency. So as we continue to move through our budget process and much of what we do in finance services, we adhere to the guidelines established through the GFOA, and this has led to more in-depth reporting. Our next accomplishment of finance services is budget projections hitting the mark. As we had put together our budget and went through the whole entire process, When we put together our 5-year projections, we come within a percentage point and our estimated actuals. So that's an accomplishment that we are pretty proud of and hope to continue to find success with our budget projections. Next accomplishment is remote processes. This ties into the phase 3 payroll automation and then automated payments. We would say that one benefit of some of what happened during the pandemic was advancing many of our processes, proving to make the departments more efficient, and coming up with some remote. Another accomplishment is increasing the general fund reserve. One of the GFOA guidelines is to maintain at least 16%. Let's continue to do so, and then some. Accomplishment each and every year. And lastly is the American Rescue Plan reporting, where we establish an additional class in the books for the American Rescue Plan Act. And this allows us to track any of the monies that have been spent and put us in a position to know exactly where all of our funds are. So some of the goals for the Office of Finance Services is to improve the accuracy and efficiency of financial reporting. Transparency is one of our accomplishments, but it's something that we strive to get better at. So that's one of the goals that we have listed. Next is to develop or enhance financial policies and procedures. In doing so, we have done this to some degree, but we'd like to continue to develop more enhanced policies, as well as a detailed list of procedures moving forward. Next is to enhance financial reporting by reducing monthly closing process. So by doing so, this would make for a more efficient process, and this goes hand in hand with enhancing our procedures. Next we have is to review and update 3-year CIP projections. In doing so, I think that working with different departments on their various CIP projects on a more frequent basis will allow us to continuously update those projections. And lastly, implement new controls, monitor existing controls, and provide training to staff on control procedures. So this also ties into being consistent with the guidelines of the GFOA. Finance Services will strive to continue to implement these new controls, and this is used as a means to continue keeping the town in great financial condition. So that concludes the goals of Finance Services, and is police.
I'm going. Good evening. This evening, I will begin with some of the accomplishments achieved by both our sworn and civilian staff members. The police department grew in line with the town's diversity and inclusion policy. Currently, the PD only has one sworn vacancy. And I can say in the first time in my 22 years of working here, we have over 50% of the police department staff is bilingual. All sworn staff has completed active shooter training. We conducted this training at Riverdale Elementary School and involved some of our civilian staff members as role players. We initiated crisis intervention training, and so far we have 5 members of our patrol staff go through the week-long training course. We created a community safety programs manager position. Police Officer Marissa Davis was hired in July of 2022, has been a great addition to the department. We upgraded our body-worn cameras. Our body-worn camera program became in effect since July of 2017, and every patrol officer and investigator are outfitted with the newest equipment. We fully implemented national incident-based reporting system and transitioned from the old uniform crime report. NIBRS will improve the overall crime data collected by law enforcement agencies by capturing additional information such as separate offenses within the same crime. The credit for the project really goes to our civilian staff. Lastly, employee recognitions. Corporal Orville Saunders received the Top Cop Award from the Maryland Municipal League, and Officer Quentin Josie received the Medal of Valor Award from Maryland Chiefs of Police Association. We are extremely proud of both officers. Next slide, please. And our goals. With the assistance of employee services, we will continue to cast a wide net to recruit well-trained, diverse, and inclusive applicant base. We will continue with crisis intervention training, the goal of each officer attending the full-week program. It is estimated that at least 20% of all police calls for service involve a mental health aspect. We will work with town staff to enhance parking management program and fully automate parking enforcement as well as permit issues. Officer Davis, our community safety program manager, is working in conjunction with the Department of Public Works, Neighborhood Services to create a strategic highway safety plan. We plan to continue to evaluate our current automated enforcement program with the possibility of adding red light enforcement. All of this to reduce the collision and foster a safer, more walkable community. As the weather cooperates, we plan to continue our foot and bicycle patrols in the next coming months. And I can tell you recently, I received a call from a resident that was, I don't want to say shocked, but happy to see that one of our officers knocked on her door just to let her know that she had left her garage open at night and wasn't sure if she meant to do that or if they were going out the rest of the evening and just present some type of theft. And she was just happy to know that we care that much. And on behalf of Chief Gwixons and I, thank you for the opportunity to present this tonight.
And I believe it goes to Ryan with
Yes.
Development Services.
Yes, thank you very much, Deputy Chief Turner and Town Manager. Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council and members of the public. This is Ryan Shelton, and I'm your Director of Development Services. I'm happy to give you a list of some of the accomplishments from the last year. We had another successful year with our Farmers Market Dollars program, where we distributed just under $250,000 to help address food insecurity in the town for residents. We also created new programs to support town residents and businesses, including the flood prevention and mitigation program, and so I have to check my notes here, and the Rise Zone rental program for helping businesses with the leasing in the Rise Zone. We also purchased public art, which is in line with the town's vision and commitment statement. This is the Insect House. That was in addition to the normally programmed sculptures that are throughout the town. The Insect House will be installed in the location of our first pollinator garden, which should be installed within the next few weeks. The department also distributed ARPA funds to nonprofits to assist residents with housing and food insecurity. We had 2 rounds of nonprofit assistance funding go out for nonprofits who were assisting residents or town residents with food insecurity, and we had an agreement with Seed to help with a program for housing and rental assistance. The department also helped to strengthen the town's assessable base, which grew by $45 million in the last fiscal year. And so I have to also move my screen around. So some of the goals for the next year are to continue to administer the ARPA funds in consistency with the town's vision and commitment statements. We also plan to launch a broader effort to secure additional grant funds. There are always more grant funds and opportunities that the department can apply for. And these funds can be used for our grant programs to help supplement funding for those, and also to help supplement funding for our CIP projects as well. The department wishes to identify some opportunities for town-owned real estate. We're trying to make sure that every town-owned property is being put to its best use. the town, the department also has the goal of partnering with other organizations, or continuing to partner with other organizations such as the Small Business Development Center and the Latino Economic Development Center, to help reach all of our businesses and provide them with the services that they need. And the department also seeks to continue to grow the town's assessable tax base. I'm going to retain the mic for the Office of Neighborhood Services accomplishments. In the last year, the neighborhood services, the town rather, adopted the new property maintenance code. This allows for our neighborhood services staff to address property maintenance issues on commercial properties. In the past, the property maintenance code only had applied to the residential properties in town. So staff have been working towards this effort, and we continue to see more progress every week. The town also passed a vacant property registration program to help monitor vacant properties in town and make sure that they remain safe and did not become a nuisance. The town also adopted a micro mobility standards, which would put some requirements on VO-Ride and other micro mobility operators that are operating in town, so that they are operating in a way that is consistent with the town desires. And also, 2 of our staff members received property maintenance certifications this last year. This is the first time that the department has had both staff members attain the property maintenance certifications. And I think it's even more notable that both of these staff members were not in neighborhood services department as of a year ago. This was last presented. So they're making great progress rather quickly. Some of the goals for the next year for neighborhood services are to implement a software system for inspections, which would include a resident portal for submitting any sort of potential violations that residents find out in their neck of the woods. Another goal is to continue to administer the recently adopted Riverdale Park Property Maintenance Code. Like I mentioned before, there's a much broader scope to the property maintenance code now, and we're going to continue to tackle that using our new property maintenance code and the tools that the mayor and council have provided staff. Another goal is to create a guide to assist businesses. I mentioned before that this Riverdale Park Property Maintenance Code now applies to commercial properties, and it's been a learning curve for some of the businesses in town. So one of our goals is to develop a guide for all businesses to help them understand some of the frequently asked questions about what they need to maintain and to what standard. Another goal is to launch an educational program to assist property owners and tenants with complying with the town standards. Again, the town code is a pretty the property maintenance code is a pretty hefty document, and we're trying to make sure that everybody is aware of the requirements as much as possible. Another goal is to implement proactive measures to assist in removing blighted conditions. One of those proactive measures was the vacant property registration program, but we're continuing to develop new programs to help reduce the amount of blighting conditions throughout the town. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the town manager to speak about the Department of Public Works.
Thank you, Ryan. And I appreciate the progress that everyone has made in their departments. So pinch hitting for Director Lewis, some of the accomplishments of the Department of Public Works was to change the organizational structure. Previously, everyone reported to an operations manager and the operations manager to the director. We created 2 teams, promoted 1 person internally, hired 1 person externally. And so we have this team structure. The operations manager position has been converted to a deputy director position, and that position is currently vacant. But we'll be recruiting for that in the weeks and months ahead. They completed the Longfellow Street Stormwater project in the last year, and I think Councilmember Lingua, we will continue to celebrate this. I know it was a long time coming, but just the staff commitment of how this project was completed. And just to remind everyone, we actually, Director Lewis actually hunted down the necessary pipes, finding them herself in Texas, and then arranging for third-party transport just to keep that project moving. That's some of the ingenuity that the staff team utilize when trying to figure these projects out. Major work has been completed at the Boys and Girls Club with more work planned, but there's new roof and there's new windows, and new HVAC is happening. And then we have a lot of interior type renovations that still need to come. The 54th Avenue sidewalk project, and work has begun to coordinate the 54th Place Pocket Park. So we're getting those designs together. And then the completed 12 road improvement projects. And we have, I think it's 13 road improvement projects in the hopper to move forward. In addition to these, we've added some flashing stop signs and some pedestrian crossing signs to the town's inventory. And as Director Lewis has mentioned in a recent meeting, we're looking at 2 different models of the stop signs. So if anyone has feedback on the ones being used, please let Director Lewis know what your thoughts are. We also converted 42 streetlights to 3,000 Kelvin. And then we've updated the fiscal 22 road condition assessment and identified new projects. Recently, we've managed to purchase 2 medium duty trucks and a skid loader and the town's first brine machine. And we'll talk more about that in a minute when we're talking about goals. And we distributed 9,000 paper bags for the collection of leaves. So in terms of goals, we want to complete the conversion of streetlights to LED 3,000 Kelvins, develop an operational plan for infrastructure and building maintenance. Now, this next goal is a holdover from last year, but so far winter has been light. And so that's to reduce salt usage. That's where that brine machine may come into play as well. We also want to complete, maintain, and map the infrastructure inventories, and that would be in GIS. We're also looking to improve the safety and efficiency of the leaf collection program. Ivy's Director Lewis has already started this, but to increase the staff trainings and certifications in infrastructure and vehicle and equipment maintenance. And then this last goal, actually, I was surprised by it when she first brought it to me, but I think it will be warmly received by the town and by the mayor and council and by our sustainability committee. And that is to replace 50% of gas-powered landscaping equipment with electric-powered equipment. I think that's a good goal for the next fiscal year. So this brings us to the near the end of the presentation, when I take a few minutes to talk about the budget. And I want to share a little story for those who don't know the story behind these scales. I think I've mentioned these scales in previous states of the town. These scales are scales that have followed me for probably 25 years. I purchased these scales at a church auction, and I've kept them in my office. Every job I've had over the last 25 years, these scales have moved with me. I bought them because they're out of balance. And it reminds me that finding balance is difficult. Finding balance is really, really hard work. Because when it comes to the budget, it's not just balancing numbers and living up to GFOA standards. It's about balancing needs. It's about funding our values, being true to the vision and commitments that the mayor and council have laid out. And as we look to balance the proposed fiscal 2024 budget, I am pleased to say that we are very near balance, and that on April 3rd, we will present to the mayor and council a balanced proposed fiscal 2024 budget. And this budget has been more difficult than what we had hoped. And it's been more difficult for a lot of the reasons I've already mentioned this evening. And things that Mr. Jones has talked about in his twice a month report to the council on the condition of the town's finances. Most recently, Mr. Jones highlighted our loss of business personal property tax. And for round numbers, we're going to be, let's say, 400,000 under what we had hoped for. I asked the staff leadership team to implement controls, just like everyone else has to do in their personal lives, like all of us have to do in our personal lives. Your revenue falls, you control your expenditures. We've done that. We fully anticipate that our expenditures, except for perhaps automated enforcement, will be less than what was budgeted. And that will result in revenue net expenditures. It's really important that every year we have revenue net expenditures, because the revenue net expenditures, that revenue not used for town operations, is necessary to pay for capital improvements, to pay for economic development activities, to pay for community development activities. Now, when I mentioned the challenges earlier this evening, I talked about the economy and development and how some things have slowed down. But I want to talk about 3 areas where I think we need to create some change in the months ahead. The first is, and this is consistent with previous budget messages, we really need to find a more diverse way to pay for capital improvement. This is not a new message. And we've done a pretty decent job on bringing in grant money. Aside from ARPA, which was a windfall and has allowed the town to be more diverse and more forward thinking in some of our CIP. But we've brought in state money, considerable state money. We've brought in federal money, considerable federal money. And those things are important. But in the years ahead, we're going to need to do even more. We have to bring in grant money. Mr. Shelton mentioned as a goal for development services to make that a reality. And he, along with the entire leadership team, and then our programmatic staff, will be working to make that happen. We also need to take a look at the defined benefit plan that the town has. This is a rich benefit. And currently, the town pays 20.6% of salaries into this plan. We've talked about this previously, but in the months ahead, beginning this summer, the town needs to take a serious look at whether the town should merge this plan with a state of Maryland retirement plan. The end product in the long run will save the town money, but I also think it would bring about more security for our employees. In my view, nothing will be lost by exploring this and perhaps executing such a change. The third area is rather simple. At least it's simple to say. We have to figure out how to increase our revenues and lessen our expenditures. Historically, the town's budget has grown about 6%, 6 to 7% a year. The current fiscal year from the previous fiscal year grew nearly 12%. Same as home budgets have grown. Home budgets have grown because of inflation and supply chain and all those things that the town too experiences. And provided that revenue grows, that can be okay. Now, we will end this fiscal year with revenue net expenditures. That's a positive thing. That's an indication that the town's finances are solid. However, we will end this fiscal year with revenue net expenditures less than we have in the previous 2 years. So we'll have less revenue net expenditures than we did last year or the year before. So that tells us that our revenue is reaching not a maximum, but it's reaching a point where it's slowing down. Increases in revenue are slowing down, while increases in expenditures remain considerable. And in the months ahead, the town needs to take a look at how we're going to react to this. Deputy Chief Turner spoke this evening about one of the goals being the red light camera program. Well, hopefully, if we implement such a program, we will see behavior modification to make our town streets more walkable and safer. That's the goal of that program. An offshoot of that type of program, though, is increased revenue, so we can have more programs to enhance the safety of our community. More capital improvements to enhance the safety of our community. So those are the three areas that we really have to take a look at. Basic revenue and expenditures, how to enhance revenue, control expenditures, the retirement system, as well as I'm sorry, give me 1 second here. Oh, the CIP, the financing of capital improvement. So those three areas are really important for the town to work on. And I think kicking off the summer with that work, and we will have, as a staff team, some proposals for the mayor and council at the end of the summer for your consideration. And with that, I would like to say that the town is doing well. We have come a long way, and we continue to expand the delivery of services And going back to what Jose said about what is excellence in service, it's doing things with love. And there's a lot of dedication amongst the staff team and among the residents to have a really incredible town. And Riverdale Park is fortunate to have the residents we have, to have the elected leadership that we have, and to have the staff team that we have. And with that, Mr. Mayor and Council, I'd like to conclude this presentation. I believe there's one last slide to remind people of when some dates are. Public hearings on the budget, April 15th and April 22nd. And myself and the staff team here this evening would gladly take your questions.
Thank you, Town Manager Lustician. That was quite a presentation. Also, other members of the leadership team. A lot of information in there. Lots of things to think about. As always, there are good things going on, and there are things that we need to worry about. And I think that that's just what life is in a small town and a small organization, that you seldom can become complacent. There's always something to worry about. So with that, I see that someone has written in the chat, Laura Katz complimenting the staff on the slides. Councilmember Poe, you have your hand up. Do you have a question?
No, I just have a comment, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you to the town manager and town staff. I honestly believe that with the resources that we're able to allocate, we have the best staff in Prince George's County. It has been a remarkable experience to have the opportunity to work with this staff. And I just want to emphasize how great my experience has been as a council member and a resident of the town, and how incredibly informative tonight's presentation was. And I just want to say a hearty thank you to everything that you all do. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Town Manager.
Absolutely agree, Councilmember Poe. Absolutely agree. Fantastic staff, devoted and thoughtful and engaged. Are there any additional comments or questions? Councilmember Lingua.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and to staff. Thank you very much for this presentation. I'm coming away from this. I think there's a lot in this presentation that there's very positive, and in a way enthusiastically saying there's a lot that's going to be staff is looking forward to do moving forward. Yet we're seeing it really the next 4 years, 4 to 6 years, is that we do have a lot of challenges when it comes to our town's budget in managing the growth of the budget, as well as being able to manage costs within that budget as well. And I'm heartened to hear that that staff wants to do an overview of everything and a review not only of just vision and commitment statements, but also looking at how things are being done, and hopefully with the new approaches to how things are being done, that I would imagine, but I'm not going to assume, that it's going to be in a way that's creative enough that's also going to be helping contain some of these costs that we see, that we'll see before us in the coming years. As it was being brought up about identifying new resources, essentially thought as it was being said, looking at grants. And I think really it's going to be on all of us to make sure that we're in a very good position when it comes to applying, pursuing, identifying, and receiving, and as well as executing grants in our future. And that's going to be a challenge with everything else that we're doing. Managing grant funding and its execution is a big challenge, because it's as what Director Lewis had put down in terms of like doing the right project the right way. I think there's going to be a lot of conversation amongst staff, amongst council, amongst community regarding those right projects, and making sure that we're seeing those through as best we can in the coming years. But it's not to say that these are troublesome opportunities. I think these are good opportunities to have. These are good challenges to have. And I think if everyone is working together and the dialogue is frequent, frank, and earnest, I think there's a lot that we can achieve.
Thank you, Councilmember Lingua. Well said. Are there any additional questions or comments or thoughts that anyone would like to share? Seeing none, I will again thank Town Manager Lustician and other members of the staff. I think probably the whole staff contributed something to this presentation. Everyone, I imagine, had something to do with it. So thank you so much. It's greatly appreciated. It's wonderful to have this once a year event where we can have the town manager explain the broad sweep of activities that's gone on over the last year. And so thank you all for being part of it. And thank you all for those who attended, who tuned in, who listened. And I'm assuming, Mr. Town Manager, that we can get copies of the slides at some point. Just for
Yes, and so we will have this video on our YouTube channel on that. We will have to drop the slides into a Dropbox. It's a very large document and cannot be emailed, primarily because of the quality of the photographs.
I understand.
So Director
They are
Barnes,
tremendous.
yes, Director Barnes, can you make sure that a Dropbox is created and Mayor and Council have this presentation?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so with that, thank you everyone again, and have a good evening. See you soon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.